And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as I get myself situated. Sorry, it's been a minute since I've done this, so I apologize for that. Transition was a little rougher than I thought, but we're back. Our Few Refugees podcast. Ted here, John here, talking DC United, talking U.S. soccer, talking gift ideas, everything to your heart's content. John, how you doing, my friend?
I am also remembering how to do this because I just had our audio circulate through my feed. So
Yeah.
I am remembering how to podcast. You would think we've not done this 89 times already.
Yeah,
Or
but I
more.
mean, you take a couple breaks, and sometimes it takes a minute to get back into it. So
Gotta knock the rust off.
it's understandable. It's completely understandable. But we're back, and we have a show to talk about. Should we just get right into it, or how was your weekend, John? I should ask that first. How's your weekend? How is baby prep going?
You know, I feel like we bought all the things, but there's no way that we bought all the things or even come close to it. So listeners, if you really want to find a gift for your favorite podcaster, we're registered at Target and you know my name. So there are many things left to buy. If any of you have kids, happen to know that that's the case. So,
Yeah, a lot of money is spent. A lot of things are bought. A lot of that, a lot of
yep.
stuff that I haven't experienced yet, and don't want to experience for a little while now. So
You're young yet.
yeah, I'm young. I still want to enjoy.
You're youngish yet. Let's not get carried away.
Let's not get carried away, exactly. But let's talk soccer. Let's talk DC United. Been a little bit of a quiet off season, I guess, until today. Official news coming out: Bill Hamid is back, a 3-year contract. I don't think they've disclosed his salary. The rumors are they use $750K in TAM to pay his Danish club to bring him back.
You can use TAM for transfer fees.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Most of the time, the reason you do it is because it allows you to avoid the salary cap hit. So if you use TAM on your transfer fee, then you don't have to incur that payment on the salary cap. So yes, you can use that money. So essentially, the league paid the transfer fee.
Thanks, Don Garber.
Yes, thanks, Don Garber. Thank you, Garber Bucks. We've talked a little bit about this, John. I think when it became official, there were kind of two camps here. There were people. I'm sure the people in Camp B were equally excited to have Bill Hamid back, but there were people that were like, "Yes, Bill Hamid's back. We needed to do this. Let's go." And then other people were like, "Geez, we paid." A lot of people using this as a chance to dump on the current people in charge, particularly Dave Casper. Ben Olsen probably gets thrown in there, though this is probably mostly on Dave Casper. The fact that he was a DC9 homegrown, left for Denmark, and then DC had to basically pay to get him back. I raised on Twitter that I don't know if it's worth this. If this move in particular, there are plenty of reasons to criticize DC United and the moves they've made, the signings they've made, the players they've kept, the players they've let go, certain management decisions that they've made. But I will say I'm not sure this one is one you really want to dump them on. I think there were a lot of extenuating circumstances, some things out of their control. I believe Charlie Boehm, friend of the show, guy who's been on the show a bunch of times, raised the point that, well, they should have offered a contract quicker. We don't know that they necessarily, maybe they did do that. Maybe they did approach Bill before the contract was done. And Bill's like, no, I want to wait it out and see what it looks like in a year. And I know Stephen Goff has reported that he had made several verbal commitments that he was going to sign and then backed out of those to go to Europe. And the extent of the situation was he wanted to go to Europe. He wanted to test himself. He was getting a lot of pressure also from the U.S. national team. He wanted to make himself a fixture there. I don't blame for him to go. And I think that was I'm going to go ahead and say that was probably about 60 to 70% out of DC United's control. And I'm not sure he would have garnered the interest if he wasn't on a free transfer. I'm not sure many teams would be willing to pay a transfer fee. At the time, he had very, very few appearances with the U.S. men's national team, and at that time when he was coming up, that's what you needed to really garner a lot of attention. It's a little different now, and I think he kind of missed his window. Golf seems to think he's going back. I think he's here in DC United until he retires. I don't see him unless a big time club comes and offers him big time money to go. I don't see him leaving. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, and I don't think they will because he's got no chance to get into the national team picture. And most teams are not going to make a big money offer. Most European teams are not going to make a big money offer for a goalie in his 30s with no national team opportunities. Additionally, there could be a problem with a work permit in England, for instance, and other countries too. So I think I agree that Bill is likely here for the long haul. But also, just to sort of rewind, I didn't care at all that we paid a transfer fee. It does not matter to me at all. $750,000 of fake money is fine. Sure, you could have used it on other things, but I also don't care. We have him back. We have him back for 3 years now. We don't have to keep worrying about what our plan is going to be post Bill Hamid, because 3 years is a long time from now. And we still don't know what the rest of the team's strategies are for the rest of the lineup. So I get it's easy to make fun of, and people made the easy jokes about giving a team $750,000 for your own homegrown. It's funny. I get it. It's easy to mock. I get it. But the only leverage MLS players have is running their contract all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
So they have so little. They have so little say, so little freedom of movement in the single entity structure, that some of these players know that to dictate their terms in any substantial way, they've got to really hold all the cards, and that's the only way they can hold all the cards. So it's happened a lot. Charlie actually pointed it out. It happens a lot in MLS. It's sort of an epidemic. I think just because of the league has shut down offers. Teams have shut down offers that players have really wanted, and they just say, you know what is the way that I can take care of me and make my own choices, and that's to be without contract or be in my last year. So it makes sense to weight it down.
And I think the way that MLS has tampers down salaries also impacts that. There are numerous stories of European teams coming to MLS teams and offering lower salaries, and MLS countering with big salaries, in some cases 10 million, saying, oh no, we want 10 million for this player. And European clubs are like, that's ridiculous. We can see the MLS salary that you're only paying this player $500,000 a season. Why should we pay, so they look at that and they say, that's what we see as you valuing that player at. And why should we pay that amount? That it doesn't make sense to them. And there's a lot of things about MLS's structure. It's part of the reason the Emil Assad transfer didn't go through, because of how MLS handles transfer fees and how it impacts salary cap. And you had a South American club that either didn't know or didn't care about how DC operates, and so they held out. So I think a lot of that sort of plays a role into it. And it's going to be interesting to see if anything changes with the CBA agreement with regards to that. Which of course is coming up. With the negotiations are been very quiet lately, but I'm sure they'll heat up once we get past the Christmas holidays and into the new year.
We've been told that both sides want to reach a deal by Ted Garber in the last 3 weeks. So that means that's going to happen for sure. Labor peace once again. It is going to be curious here. There's so much. The league is more successful than it's been, right? But it still feels very tenuous. It does to me feel like a strike would be really bad. I think from an interest perspective.
I think I'm not sure. Yes, I would say it would be bad. I will say that the amount of bad, quote unquote, it would be is starting to get less and less. I was on the fence of the idea that coming in, I was saying, I'm feeling like this is the moment when we might have a strike. Like we're getting closer and closer and closer. And in fact, the last CBA was basically negotiated at the very last minute. Yep. There was reporters being in the hotel room, and they basically were like, the owners wanted and said, here's our offer, take it or leave it. They had a vote, and they said, well, we're just going to take this because, we can't afford it. I think it's going to happen at some point. Does it happen this year? It doesn't seem like it. It seems like maybe the owners are willing to cave at least a little bit on more structural changes. And it seems like this isn't a cost of, money or necessarily a revenue sharing or a lot of the other things that really get messy in CBA negotiations. A lot of this has to do with, charter flights and other things. So I do find it funny. The players have made a sense like, no, we need to get rid of TAM. TAM needs to go away. And yet we're still seeing teams trade for TAM. And it's like, you're trading for money that might not even exist, next season. I'm sure they'd figure out some sort of compensation for it, but I just find that funny. It's like trade for Tam in 2021, and I'm like, will there even be Tam in 3 years, or will it all just go into one big pot, and then that like changes valuations of how you value trades? But just something interesting I've noticed.
Yeah, another thing too to think about too from a leverage player ownership leverage perspective. Any other American sport that strikes, fans of that sport have no other place to watch that sport really.
It's true.
Football, nowhere to go. Basketball, are you going to watch Eurobasket? Maybe you are, probably not.
It's on Flow
Baseball, no.
Sports, everybody. It's on Flow Sports.
And it's true. It's true. And I think you can watch on some weird whatever channel, I think it's called One Sports that the Cosmos used to be on.
Yeah.
I think they show like Venezuelan League Baseball.
Didn't that shut down? I thought that shut down.
I'm sure that it did.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is my fear. If I'm MLS, the Players Union, and I look at the TV ratings, and I wonder if we strike and we're gone for 12 months, the worst case scenario could be that everyone was like, did MLS not happen this year? I was watching soccer. I watched Liga MX. I watched my EPL team. Like life for me didn't really change too much. So that's like the worst case scenario is that they realize their people love going to the games, and we would have a freaking conniption if there was a strike. That would be very bad for us. But
Yeah.
like for other people, I think there are other people that the casuals will just be just fine.
Yeah.
They will not miss a beat.
And it wouldn't stop USL, which
I was
is
just about to say USL would have record at the gates.
we would become a Richmond Kickers podcast if that happened. If that's what
Yeah, and
happened.
Loudon also.
Talking about $7,000 transfer fees for players.
Literally 4 digits.
4 digits, which is a big deal for the Kickers, I will admit.
4 digits.
But yes, circling all the way back, Bill Hamid's back. We think it's great. And it's good. It's also good the team got it done this early, that they got the deal done. They can move on, move forward. This isn't carrying out into January. This isn't another Yamil Assad. They're not going and signing a player where we're not sure how it's going to be, how he's going to, interact with the league. So in that sense, very, very good they got the deal done. Another rumor that Black and Red United is reporting is that the team is apparently interested in signing Joao Plata, who I believe had his option. I believe he had his option declined. I believe he sailed through. Did he sail through the re-entry draft? I don't think, or was he eligible for free agency? I can't remember. Anyway, the team is apparently interested in signing him. If this is, and this is where I need to preface this, if this move happens tomorrow, my opinion of the move is going to be dependent on what else the team does. If they bring back Lucas Rodriguez, if they sign a big time number 10, I will absolutely love the move about bringing in Joao Plata, because it shows that the team is recognizing that they need to up their depth, and they need more depth, and they need better depth than what they've had, because that's been the huge issue and continues to be the huge issue for DC, was just a lack of effective depth. It's why Ben Olsen is using 2 subs a game, or 1 sub, or no subs. It's because you look down his bench and he's got, maybe 1 option. And you need 3 or 4 options now in this league. Look at what TFC did with Nick DeLeon. Everybody was wondering what is TFC doing signing Nick DeLeon, taking $300,000 in the contract. Looked like a bargain when he was out there playing for them. So that's kind of the effort I think DC needs to make. So again, this move is in a vacuum. I don't know how I think about it, but if it's supplied with a lot of other big time moves, then I'm more okay with it. It does have me worried that maybe Lucas Rodriguez is not coming back if they're looking at this play. So
they might be sitting firm. I think we always said that if it was a $2.5 million buy option, there's a very good possibility that we don't exercise it, and that it would need to be worked down. And if they don't want to, they don't want to. I think I saw on his Instagram he was at his home stadium. He saw a game there.
Yeah. He did come back. He came back, I think, after that. But
M. Rickling on our YouTube comment says he was chatting with his boy Jason Levy on Sunday at the Screaming Eagles holiday party, and he said Ariola was definitely playing on the wing, and they're looking at a DP number 10, either a mid-career player from Latin America or less probably an older player from a EuroLeague. Give me some realistic names that I can fantasize about. How about Cesc Fabregas?
Yeah,
Mesut
Ozil
at Monaco. He is rumored to not rumored. They've tied him to Thierry Henry in Montreal as a possibility. That would be interesting. He would not be interested in playing defense or running around too much. But the man can pass. If you thought Wayne Rooney could pass, Cesc Fabregas could pass
Yeah.
also. And they could I mean, they won't finish as well, but I don't know what he's on from a salary perspective. But there are, I think that, first of all, from that, very good news that Ariel is playing on the wing. I don't want him as a 10. I think he played well there at times. I think when he's at his best, he's a goal scoring winger, and less less worried about playing everyone else in. So that's good. I wish that Mr. M. Rickling also happened. Is it maybe Mr. Ickling? No, it's M. Rickling. I'm going to call you Mr. Ickling. It would be fun. It would be great too if they would have let us know if they are looking at a right back or if we can expect to see Mr. Knaus back there again. That would be another area of interest that I'm concerned about. But I think that they obviously the João Plata move is good if he's not a starter, but he's going to be a starter for that amount of money. So I guess the idea there is that it doesn't change the fact that Emma Boateng is still your wing option, particularly if they don't bring on Lucas Rodriguez, bring back Lucas Rodriguez. So
yeah,
there's still some, it doesn't make us notably better. And if he's on, I think someone said 800,000, 700.
It won't be that. I don't think it can be that. I mean, maybe if they have a whole lot of TAM just kind of sitting there, or some allocation money sitting there and buy it down. But I don't think he would have to come down. I could honestly see it coming down right at that salary maximum. It also may, who knows with the CBA, how that's going to impact it too. So I'd be curious about that as well. But I don't think it'll be at 800,000. It would be at least a couple 100,000 less. And apparently he's had a little bit of a downturn at Salt Lake from what I've heard. So maybe that'll play.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, if it was a few years ago where he was scoring, I believe he had a year where he was scoring double-digit goals.
Yeah.
He had a pretty strong team around him at the time, I recall. So I don't know.
But maybe, I mean, I think
good piece maybe, depending on the price.
If he is a backup to Quincy Amarikwa, though, I am all for this because I think he would provide a change of pace.
A backup like Quincy.
A backup like Quincy.
Okay.
Yeah, he would offer speed, change of pace, just a little bit something a little bit more than what we got out of Quincy. We love you, Quincy, but I think we would get a little bit more out of Plata than we would out of Quincy. And I think he would contribute a little bit more. So that I'm for this move. Again, like I said, if this is surrounded by some other bigger moves that are a little bit better and maybe some guys that they're bringing back like Lucas Rodriguez, then I am very, very much okay with this move. If this ends up being the Lucas Rodriguez replacement, I'm going to be less happy about that. Let's just say that. We got the schedule, or the opening games, I guess we could say. We haven't gotten the schedule yet. It should be coming out in a few weeks. DC United, assuming everything goes okay, DC United will be playing their home opener at February 29th, which I guess is March 1st if we're not under leap year. But soccer in February, everybody. Everybody excited for like 40-degree weather.
It's the first game of the league season. In fact, it's 1:00 on the first day, beating the other teams that are also starting that day. So if there's soccer to be, if anyone's watching MLS on the 29th at 1:00, they're watching DC United. Although it's not going to be nationally televised, so they aren't probably.
It's going to be on. It's going to be on
ESPN Plus. As long as you're an ESPN Plus subscriber, you will be able to see it. Maybe.
Yeah. Unless you live in the DC area and it's on somewhere else, who knows? Who knows what that's going to be like? But you could be the stadium. A 1:00 kickoff is nice for me being from Richmond because it is a day trip rather than a trip in the middle of the day and then getting back at like midnight and crashing in bed. So I'm okay with that. Start time is, of course, the weather. It might be cold, it might be wet, and it might be rainy. It's definitely going to be cold. It's probably not going to be, balmy and 60-degree weather. It's going to be probably between 40 and 50. I'd be curious to look at like DC weather on February or March 1st, like last year, just to see what that's like. But they apparently are going to play their next game at home as well. And also, quirk of the schedule is that not everybody is going to play everybody in the MLS season. Stephen Goff reporting that basically there are going to be 3 teams that DC United will not play this season.
I hope they're good ones.
Yeah.
LAFC, Seattle, and Atlanta. Those are the three teams we shouldn't play.
Yeah, well, we're gonna play Atlanta. It's out of conference, my friend. So it's probably gonna be let's say Galaxy, LAFC, and Seattle. Let's hope it's
Sure. Great. Excellent.
yeah. That sounds good to me. But I guess the question everybody's talking about is what does this mean for the Supporter Shield, which is the trophy? Does it get relegated to a NHL President's Trophy type thing? Is it still? Do you think it should still count towards whether you make the Champions League or not? That I think is the more interesting question is it does still matter in the sense that you make the Champions League. And I have a creatively idea solution. But John, I want to get your thoughts first. What do you think about, does this devalue the Supporter Shield for you?
Yeah, I think that it's going to start being used as like the coffee table bowl that you put keys in, or maybe like pine cones in the winter. I think that they're probably going to move away from the fact that it gives you Champions League. Like if they're still following the guidance of their report that says to de-emphasize Supporter Shield, I think having an unbalanced schedule the way they do, that's a good step. I mean, there's no choice, I think, necessarily by the way that the league is structured this year by number, but it makes sense. It goes along that pathway, and if they wanted to get rid of it or de-emphasize it, this would be the good first year to do it. And then second, you take away the Supporter Shield, getting you automatic buy into the Champions League, and then after that happens, the people who are mad about it are going to be a very small, loud, and angry contingent. But you could probably just put them in a little box and don't worry about it.
Basically, anybody on YouTube, I think, or anybody podcasters.
I want to bring big soccer back in the American soccer like mindset. Although I'm sure people who are still on it think that they're still very relevant. Maybe they are.
Yeah, yeah. I think if a team, because I remember there was a big controversy about it when MLS went away from they used to have a completely balanced schedule. Everybody played everybody home and away. They went away from it, and then I think that was the year that San Jose ran away with the title. I think if a team runs away with it, and especially if they play the teams that they are competing against it and they win it, I think it'll still be valued. But I think if it comes down to, one team in the West, one team in the East, they never play each other, and one team, in the East wins it by 2 points, and the other team was, the other schedule was awful. One idea I have to fix it, and this is really just purely for Supporter Shield, is what determines whether you make it into the Supporter Shield is going to be your performance what determines whether you make it into the Champions League as that regular season. So you still have U.S. Open Cup champion, MLS Cup champion, and then you have Eastern and Western Conference champions, and that is just purely based on your matches inside your opponent. So you could have a theory where maybe you could have a situation potentially where you have maybe a team who's the Supporter Shield champion, and then maybe a team like in fourth, but they lost a bunch of games to their Western Conference opponents, and you could theoretically have a situation like that. But I think that's a way maybe you can still have the regular season be a test for making it into the Champions League and have it balanced. So that's my sort of one idea on how to do this. Do you think it's a bad idea, John?
I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
You're seeing my befuddled face because I just happened to spend the last 20 seconds searching RFK refugees on Big Soccer, and I found the first mean comment about us on the internet.
It's all on Big Soccer, my friend.
I know, it's the first time.
Read it. No, you need to read it now. You got to read it.
I got to read it? Okay.
Yeah, read it. Go ahead. Let's read some mean comments.
I tried to listen to RFK Refugees podcast, but those guys are latecomers and don't even have a complete grasp of the DCU history that only goes back 22 seasons. Just unlistenable. They're talking about me, by the way. My favorite remains United Mania, but sadly those four they're gone. So
yeah,
that would be hard. And then another person complained that we don't have enough player interviews. And then other people said nice things, but literally, you guys have been generally, and now I'm inviting negative comments. This is like honey. It's like bees to honey. But generally, people have been extremely nice to us, nicer than they probably should be to us. And now it took me going to Big Soccer to search our name to find the first mean thing.
I'll say to those people who are mean, I was 5 when the league started, so it's hard.
I'm young. My name's Ted. I'm really young. I don't have a kid yet because I'm so young.
I'm gonna make you. I need to fulfill my duty, but
Ted's a
we
Zoomer.
appreciate criticism. It's how we make us better. I feel like when we get too much, like good vibes, we get a little lazy. So I think criticism's great. It kind of keeps us on our
Speak for
toes.
yourself. I only want good vibes. Good vibes only. No fake friends. Just tell me how great we are. That's all
Now
I
I did say constructive criticism.
That's true.
Constructive criticism is important.
Not why weren't you guys fans when Ted was 5 and also before John watched any soccer?
Why didn't you have a complete knowledge? I'll go toe to toe with anybody on DC history. I will go. I will. Big soccer commenter. You want to call into the show? By the way, call in. By the way, 202-905-0454. You want to call into the show and you want to we want to do like a DCU trivia off. Let's do it. Let's do it, man.
I think he's listening to old United Mania podcasts on repeat. I think that's his current what he's listening to. By the way, they don't exist anymore, but that was also my favorite DC United podcast.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Very good.
I've actually I rode back on the Metro from one of the United Media people, one of the guys who used to do the show. He's the one who moved to Richmond. I can't, and I feel really bad that I've forgotten his name. I'm sorry. I've been sick for the past week, so I'm gonna blame it on that. But I rode back from him, and so yeah, they're still doing the podcast. They're still really cool guys, and they're not doing the podcast, but they are still really cool people. Very into DC United. Chris Webb, I still see post a lot of the time. So, but yeah,
Chris Webb still maintains his exact podcast persona on Twitter, so that's good, I guess.
Yes. All right, let's get out of as much as we love the other podcasters and the people who came before us. Let's shift gears a little bit. And let's talk some U.S. soccer. I know John is probably gonna just mute his microphone now because he doesn't want to talk about it.
I'm gonna show the test pattern on my screen. You'll just see me doing some laundry. Go ahead.
Yes, but let's talk. I want to talk U.S. soccer. An article came from Caitlin Murray, essentially from a former DC United player, Ernie Stewart, from 2003 to 2005. I think is how long he played. I'm going to go ahead and say that. He was on the 2004 MLS Cup champion team. Take that, big soccer guy. I know my DC history. Ernie Stewart talking about defending the policy. He's either the CEO or technical director, I think now for U.S. soccer. But he has instituted a policy, what everybody's calling the Chicago policy, which basically says if you're going to work for U.S. soccer, you need to move to Chicago. Very, very controversial policy. It's something that U.S. soccer has never had. And the article kind of reads, he's basically saying, well, we want everybody to be in the same room because I don't know any club that is successful. I need to emphasize club. Was successful when you have people scattered around. And my response to that is, you're not running a club. You're not running Manchester United. You're not running a Dutch club. You're not running Ajax. You're running the U.S. soccer program, which spans several million more miles than what a club in Ajax represents. And I think it's an absolutely absurd policy, and it's effective. And a lot of people in U.S. soccer hate it. And the article even goes in to say that it's not even if there was a centralized training facility in Chicago that they could work year round, that they could bring players in, they could have coaches, then maybe there's a little bit more of maybe we do need this, maybe we do need, maybe the idea of having this is a good idea. But the soccer house, the current setup in Chicago is not set up for that. And it's an absolutely baffling policy. It's awful, terrible. It just kind of goes to show how bad U.S. soccer is being run right now. I don't know. Do you have any differing opinion on this other than what I just said, or do you think this is as dumb as it seems?
It seems dumb. I like Chicago. I wouldn't want to live there in the winter. I don't know if it would be a deal breaker for me whether or not I want to take a job with them, but I think that probably maybe they're like those. Maybe U.S. soccer is boomers that hate remote workers and are like, no, everyone, I want butts and seats, 9 to 5. You got to be in the office. I got to look at you. I don't care. I don't care who you are. I've got to have eyes on. That's my thought.
Yeah, it just doesn't. To me, it just doesn't. When you have a country as big as the United States is, And when you need to be spread out, and you need to be spread out because you're going to have players from all over the country. It just doesn't it doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. And I just think it's a dumb policy. And when you have people hating it, just to dig in, and again, this is becoming commonplace now. Greg Berhalter digging in his heels about how he wants the United States to play, and no, there is no plan B. This is how we're going to play. Again, speaks to I think a little bit of an arrogance and not really thinking about what's realistic.
U.S. soccer arrogant.
You know what makes me does, and I'm gonna look around and duck again. It makes me miss Sunil Gulati. It really does. It really does.
People will be upset by that.
You know what? And here's the thing: where I am not hearing one thing about U.S. soccer is it didn't matter. It didn't matter what was going on. Sunil Gulati was available to the media. He's making statements. Give the guy some credit. He cared about U.S. soccer being successful. It's why he went out and signed a guy like Jurgen Klinsmann and took a chance on him. So, I mean, give the guy some credit. I think he deeply cared about making U.S. soccer successful. Did he make mistakes? Yes. Did he not deserve to have his job after what happened in 2018 with Klinsmann and Arena? Absolutely. I full 100% back that. But Cordero is, to me, he has been worse because he has been silent. He apparently supports this policy, and apparently he's very hands off. He's very much letting other people sort of do things. And I think that could be a good thing in a certain sense if you hire the right people, but I don't think he has the right people there. So that's all I'm going to say on that. I miss Sunil based on how I'm seeing Cordero handle. Based on the amount of the lawsuits, the $150 million reserve is now down to $40 million apparently. There's some troubling times right now, and U.S. soccer has been blessed, I think, with a very, very deep talent pool that is starting to come up. And I think that's why Berhalter might end up surviving and making the World Cup and being pretty successful because he's got a good talent pool. But the U17 World Cup did not go well for the team. Now there's the Olympics coming up. If this team goes through what happened several generations before, they still don't have the several youth coaches they still don't have. We could be in for another lost generation, much like what led to the U.S. collapsing out of the World Cup qualifying in 2018. So,
and led to me not caring anymore.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You could be creating more John Hoffmans who somehow do not care at all about U.S. soccer.
Oh, and their Spanish-speaking Twitter account got shut down because they were not using it. Twitter literally deleted their account. So that just goes to show. I mean, and you have huge population that you're ignoring, and there's again still reports about players who have Mexican and American citizenship that they're not even being contacted. It's becoming almost laughable at this point.
It is laughable.
Yeah,
it is fully laughable.
And on top of that, also we have NWSL news also coming from Yahoo Sports. I think from Caitlin Murray, who's getting a lot of good coverage about this, talking about the NWSL and the ownership. Apparently wanting, there's a big push right now. If you don't know, NWSL is owned by U.S. Soccer. It is managed by U.S. Soccer. It is run by U.S. Soccer. The owners play a role, I guess, in supporting the teams, but it's basically all run, by U.S. Soccer. It's why there's sort of an allocation of U.S. players to different teams. Apparently, U.S. Soccer would like long-term that not to be the case. They would like to, push it on out there. And I think the owners want it as well because I think the owners, and for me, the complaints I had earlier about players missing games, missing big games because they were playing for U.S. They were playing for the U.S. national team or had events related to the U.S. national team. Very, very, very important is the fact that they were missing key NWSL games, and that's because U.S. Soccer has their contract. So I think U.S. Soccer would like to separate. I'm sure the owners would like to separate, so they have maybe a little bit more control. Apparently, what NWSL owners went to U.S. Soccer was saying they want $7 million in 2020 and then $5 million every year after that. Through 2028, basically, is what they were looking for. Instead, U.S. Soccer offered a counting proposal that said, basically, we're going to continue to run things for a year while we work this out.
That's a counter.
Yeah. That's basically
Here's a long proposal, and then the counter is no.
no.
Shut up.
We're just gonna do it. We're just gonna do another year. I think they do want long term. I think this to be on its own. I think that is a good thing
Yes.
for the league, to grow and the league to expand. They're also looking for, I think, a new television deal. And I think they're being smart about this. They're saying, look, we want a television deal. We don't just want, after the World Cup, you guys sign us for a quick bump. We want an actual commitment that says through the World Cup year, you are going to be our media partner. I think what they should do is they should extend that past the World Cup. I think they should say, look, show us love. You'll get the next World Cup, but you have to make a commitment right now. Otherwise, we're not going to go with you. That's a huge, huge issue that I think the NWSL needs to figure out. They need to be off Yahoo streaming, which was originally Go90, and they need to be on their games need to be on a platform people can watch, and they need to have a long-term deal. I think it's great that the Spirit have a deal with NBC Sports, and I think the games to watch there were great, and it was great to put them on. But I think there needs to be some long-term commitments. So I hope they get it.
Deal with Monumental Sports.
What's that?
Don't forget their deal with Monumental Sports.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Where you can. I happen to have access to Monumental Sports through an old login that probably should be turned off by now, but hasn't been. And the games aren't even live. I don't think it's just like the repository for rebroadcasts of local games. Like, cool. Awesome. The other thing I think it's one of my beefs with NWSL. If I need to have a beef, I don't necessarily need to have a beef. I would like the league to get big enough so that they're stable enough so that the players can stay on their teams and not have to be. There is the amount of player movement is so high, like the churn. There's all the redraft mechanism, just like there is in MLS, but like it's very hard for a player to have a career long run with the team, just due to the fact that teams shutter. If there's an expansion ring, just like MLS, there'll be a move, but then there's just high rates of churn, and I think that it doesn't really matter, but I think it's nice when there's players. There's one player on the Spirit that can say that they've been there since the start.
Yeah.
And you'd like there to be more. That's all.
And the Spirit basically had to blow up and start over because like literally a bunch of players left, and a lot of that was dealing with the ownership, and there were a lot of controversy regarding to that. A lot of it caused me to actually really dial down my Spirit support until they finally sold it off to some new owners. A lot of what happened there, I was I did not approve of at all. So, but the movement is bad, and there's a lot of, and also the movement of teams has also been. You had the Western New York Flash win the championship and then move. I think there was some talk about another team moving. There have been some good strides. The Spirit getting more games at Audi Field has been good. I think Sky Blue just announced they're going to be playing all their games at Red Bull Arena, which is good. So that's all very, very good things, and things that the league's going to need to continue to grow.
Sacramento Republic, get your stuff together.
Yeah,
so that we can have more teams.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is that there had been talk about Sacramento Republic being the next expansion team for next season, but they haven't announced it yet. And the season's about to start. The draft's about to happen. I think they've already announced their draft, which, by the way, MLS draft not going to be in the live room, which makes me a little sad. But to finish my point, Sacramento needs to get their act together, and it's very much a fly by the seat of your pants league. It's like if you thought MLS is fly by the seat of your pants, NWSL is even crazier when it comes to just like how many things just change in the league and teams move and all kinds of crazy things happen, and they need to have some more stabilization, I think, in their league. And I just hope Cincinnati doesn't get a team, because I know Rose Lavelle is going to want to go back to Cincinnati, and I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, the other NWSL news update is that the Tacoma's team,
Reign FC
are now owned by Lyon, which is wild because they're like the Ballin women's soccer team franchise in the world.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting. Still operated by the same GM, husband and wife team that had managed the Reign so far, from a GM like a ownership perspective, but now the money's behind him, which will be interesting because there's been a conversation about Barcelona buying into the league for a long time, and it's always been reasons like we have to wear Nike jerseys or whatever the reasons were, like weird real merch rules. So that will be interesting to see if that changes anything. I don't think, based on the salary cap and the salary floor and the player allocation, I'm not sure how much having big money benefits you in this league. Like coming in with a lot of money, it will help you off the field. It'll help you provide better amenities and training and coaching and all that stuff, which is good.
Which attracts more players too.
It's the Moneyball approach.
Yeah.
But still, overall, it's not like they're going to come in and all of a sudden they're going to be the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the amenities part is big. I think right now, I think that's why Carolina Courage have been able to attract better talent, because they put a lot of effort into making their team good, and they're rewarded for it. And they also have a really nice stadium that they play at Wake Med Soccer Park. So.
Oh, you were talking about the Courage. I thought you were still talking about the Rain. I was like, no, they do not.
Yeah, they do not. No, the Rain do not. They play on a baseball field.
Yeah, not yet. Anyway,
not yet. Maybe one day. Maybe they'll finally.
They're holding out. There's going to be a. They're building, I thought, a soccer specific stadium for both the Sounders team and them. They're going to share it.
Yeah.
Call us and let us know. NWSL faithful who are listening and who are not calling in. By the way, this is a threat. If we do not receive 3 phone calls by the end of this episode, which is coming up pretty soon because we've already talked for quite a while, the number's going off, guys. We're not going to hear from the people anymore. Yeah. If you want to talk to us, you're going to have to email us or tweet to us because this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's what I think. We have some tweets. Do you want to get to the tweets that people have asked us things over time?
Can we just pay our respects to the end of the Super Draft? Can we do that?
Let's do that. 2 seconds of silence.
Because I miss. Well, no, I want to say I will miss the Super Draft. I know its value declined and everything like that.
You ever go?
I went, and when it was in Baltimore and in Philly, I saw Perry Kitchen drafted, and I drove up once when they traded away their pick to get Troy Perkins back, and that literally happened the morning. But I still went. The draft was a fun event to go to, especially if you're a U.S. soccer nerd, because there's like a who's who of soccer. I ran into Kobe Jones. I've gotten pictures with Bruce Arena. I've gotten a picture with Marcelo Balboa. Of course, I got a picture with Ben Olsen. It can be a very, very fun. It was a very, very fun event to go to. And it very much I still love some of the American tropes. I know a lot of people hate it. You should just be able to sign everywhere. That's how soccer works. But I still liked the draft. It was a fun event. I'm sad to see it go. I guess it's going to be reduced to a phone call or what the MLB draft is, because all those players are basically going to USL teams. So press F to pay respects.
F's in the chat. I went to Philly and saw Birnbaum get drafted.
Was I?
And
I think I was
on
there.
A bus full of extremely drunk people. At 8 in the morning. We took a sick day off of work. It was awesome though. Yeah. It was really, really fun. It was incredibly irresponsible use of a sick day, and I don't think I'd do it now, but it was great to have done it.
I hope they replace it with something like winter meetings like the MLB does, which I think that's been talked about, where because there's a lot of trades that go down. There's a lot of moves that go down. I think Clint Mathis got traded to LA once when I was there. So there's a lot of
You're trying to flex your old man MLS knowledge. They're talking about Clint Mathis, by the way.
I know, man. I'm flexing it. I'm going to flex it, man. Someone calls me out and says I'm gonna flex that.
They're talking about me. They're talking They know it's not.
Well,
you.
I am going to flex the knowledge so that way it extends over to you. But yes, but it was fun. The draft was fun. I will miss it when it's gone. I will still watch the live stream. I don't care. I will still do it. But yes, let's get to some Twitter questions. By the way, I just wanted to pay some respects to that because it's probably ending. There's no combine either, too, man. You can't watch the combine either. Watch a bunch of college kids who have no idea how to play with each other play really bad.
Yeah, those games were great. Those were really good.
They were riveting, man. They were absolutely riveting.
Listening to Matt Doyle do play-by-play, and that was great.
Liverpool Everton has nothing on Generation Adidas versus Team X or whatever names they came up with.
Before we move to Twitter questions, I want to give our 2 minutes of Loud United coverage, as we are contractually obligated to do so. 2 things. They just finished having their first round of open tryouts. this last week, and Ryan Martin did a YouTube video saying he was very excited about the talent and thought maybe some of those players could move on, which is crazy to me. Open tryouts netting players just seems wacky. They're not done, folks. If you in January, if you want to become a professional soccer player, you too can pay, I believe, $50, maybe it's $100, and go try out to be on a USL team, folks.
You know what we should do?
We should do it.
We should ask our Patreons if they want us to use some of their Patreon money.
Yeah, stake us
to pay for tryouts and go try out for Loudoun United
and film it.
It'd be the most hilarious thing.
I nominate myself as tribute. I have 3 years youth soccer experience, 2 years adult rec co-ed experience with 2 goals and 1 red card.
I have 1 year of JV experience and 1 year of varsity experience where I was the backup goalkeeper on my high school team.
You win. You obviously win. So
my high school team was bad, by the way. We were very, very bad. So, but still, we should. That would be fun. That would be a fun video and
hilarious. They would get very mad at us for making a mockery of their tryout.
We want to do some other cool things with the team, so maybe we should reconsider this. But
yeah. You and I would go out there and we would just like start doing really like 1930s ass calisthenics and like gray sweatsuits. Like, get out of here. Just go. You're not taking this seriously. This is like, all right, for a warm up, run 10 miles. Like, no, we're good. Thank you guys.
Bye. See you.
Appreciate it. The last thing about Loudoun United, check out the coverage on Black and Red. But Loudoun, DC United were able to get $10 million more out of Loudoun for the basically cost overruns on the stadium facility, including building bathrooms. So those weird like elevated trough bathrooms that you got to go to last year are going to be replaced by real flushing toilets. So get excited. I think that's like the bare minimum we can all expect now. I think that's fair, and I'm glad that's coming. But there's also cost overruns for the new training facility that they are trying to finish. Ted believes now into next year.
I think they've said summer of next year. I thought is what I saw.
Wow,
yeah,
that's a full year then, maybe a year and a half behind schedule.
Yeah,
but it'll be big. I think is the thing there.
That's cool. Hey, training facilities are a big thing that attracts players to your team. If they see a good training facility and they know they're going to be treated well, maybe they don't want an extra $1 million on their contract. Spending that money does have an impact. I think New England Revolution just opened their new training facility too, so it's a huge deal to have that. And that's facilities that DC United has lacked. Even with the new stadium, they've lacked those facilities.
Chris Durkin got his first start and his Belgian team.
Go Chris.
Wayne Rooney just sold his apartment. I'm giving you basically the Google News roundup.
We forgot to mention too, Megan Rapinoe named SI Sports Person of the Year. So congratulations to her. Well deserved, in my opinion. Well deserved.
All right. Twitter questions.
Let's roll.
Let's do it. This is from Jeff Taylor, who is a very good Twitter follower of ours because he interacts with almost all of our tweets. Guys, get better. Be more like Jeff. Something I've been curious about. You both travel a decent distance to get to Audi Field. Do you know, or can you speculate on how much of DC United's game day attendance comes from outside the Beltway? So Ted would want you to know that he comes from a much further distance than I do, which is inarguably true. But really, we're both really sacrificing for the team when we come. We're doing it for the team. There were a number of studies that came out when the team was looking at relocating, when they were looking at Baltimore, when they were looking at where they were going to build a potential before Audi Field was sort of settled. Most of the fan base, the season ticket holder groups, come from Northern Virginia. I don't know about Beltway or no. I assume probably close to the Beltway. I don't imagine there's a large number of DC United fans in Stafford. And I do not believe there used to be a pretty large traveling contingent from Richmond. I know that Ted was a part of for a while, but still, in the grand scheme of things, not super huge. Beltway is probably close.
Yeah, the DC used to have a pretty. I mean, we packed a bar for the 2012 playoff game. I'll never forget that. There was a whole side of the bar that was all DC United. That has eroded. Partly because of the Richmond Kickers sort of doing better outreach than DC United. That outreach has pretty much vanished from Richmond, which is sad for me. The Kickers have stepped in and done a very excellent job sort of filling that void, and they've been successful at it, I think, in sort of captivating a lot of that audience. But I would say probably still mostly Northern Virginia. I would say is where you're going to find most DC fans. I would tend to say that I think the affluency and the youth soccer participation that happens in Northern Virginia is also really big as well. I would be curious to do another study to see if any of that's changed or any of that's shifted. But I would reckon to believe it's probably pretty similar. And right now, I think also it was very easy to get to RFK from Northern Virginia because of how they set it up.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
It was so good, Ted. I think about it every time I go to a game at Audi Field. I'm like, man, even before, like, so the last 2 years at RFK, they had one of the exits blocked.
Mm-hmm.
I used to never even have to hit the brakes from Old Town Alexandria. I was just like, bloop, bloop. I would be home in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It was glorious.
Yeah.
I missed it so.
Yeah.
Other tweets about the week. Ted opined on the fact that it's ridiculous that teams do not get their jerseys out in time for Christmas, which he's right. There were some folks talking about the development cycle, et cetera, et cetera. Here's what I would say. Slide the development cycle so that it coincides with Christmas.
Yeah.
And even if you're saying like, well, they want to make sure that the other teams that are starting later in the year can announce theirs at the start of their season. How about we just do them all Christmas, no matter if you're in season or out of season? How about that? Since when does Capitals not love to sell stuff at Christmas on Black Friday, no matter what?
I feel like the European clubs do it around Christmas. Like I feel like there are jersey announcements for the next season. And I understand the idea of people, well, they want to get rid of their old stock, blah, blah, blah. Fine, discount those. Yeah. Throw those out. 40. I mean, everybody knows it's happening. The black jersey now is discounted. Everybody knows why it's being discounted because they're having a new black jersey next season. So just do it on Christmas and discount it. And, you're not fooling anybody, so to speak. And people will still buy I'm pretty sure you would still clear out your stack of old jerseys, but it would be nice if it was better organized around Christmas. I understand having it for the new season, all of that. But, I mean, really, you're missing – I feel like you're missing out on an opportunity. So I think they should do it.
Also, when about discounting and getting rid of their stock, they'll only have 5 or 6 months of the year where they're making a 300% net profit on their $130 primary authentic that costs them $8 to produce. So I don't want to hear about it.
I just hope the quality, because I will say the quality of this year of the authentic black we have now so much better than the one before. The one I have the one I got it for Christmas. I got the black authentic one, and I actually got it for Christmas, and it is falling apart already. The labels are peeling up. It's basically fine, and I treat it the same as I treat my other jersey. The one I got when I went to the stadium and bought it is holding up much better. The logo's holding up much better. Please keep the quality good. I don't want to drop $120 on a jersey that's going to peel up and basically become like ugly within a couple years of wearing it. So this one was great. I love this jersey. The black one was fantastic. I don't know if you had the same experience with it.
Yeah, I have them all. I'm a mark. I buy them all. I get the authentic. I'm in between sizes. I end up swimming.
You need the stars on the jersey, man. Huh? You need the stars on the jersey. You can't go.
I agree.
Yeah.
Ted, look at my closet. I can I know. There was a time before where authentics you could iron on the stars.
Yeah.
Like I used to do that. Legit. They have so much of my money. I needed to do a second 401k just for DC United gear in my upbringing.
All right, let's go to more Twitter questions.
Yeah, that would have been good if I had one right down the pipe. Here we go, another one from Jeff Taylor. See, look at this. Get to be as good as Jeff Taylor, everybody else. Can you talk about your predictions for what will replace Flo for the 2020 season, and how close to the season opener will it be for us to hear an announcement? I'm going to tackle the second one first. I think about 10 days before the opener, they will have a formal announcement. I think about 15 days to 16 days ahead of that Steve will have it. Golf will have it as it's going to be ESPN Plus on stream, and then maybe they'll have a terrestrial one, or maybe they'll just say ESPN Plus is the way to go. What are your expectations on timeline and who?
I think it's going to be ESPN Plus. I think they're going to get it because they have. I think last year the Flow Sports was late because they had several games it was really the second game of the season that they had the where they had to do Flow Sports. Where they had to be on Flow Sports. I think it'll be a little quicker. My prediction is by beginning of February, I think they will have the announcement down, and they will have a partner. Again, I think it's ESPN Plus. I think the fact that we're already hearing they're in negotiations bodes well, and then I think before then we'll pretty much know which one it's probably going to be, because we got rumblings that it was going to be Flow Sports, and we were all like, "Dear God, no, please!" And then the announcement was official. So I think it's going to be. I think they're going to be a little more on top of it than they have been in the past.
Fair enough. Rich at Rich_Lucky Duck agrees with me. Listening to our Thanksgiving podcast, saying, talking about Yao and all of the young players. If you don't have situations you can point to where you're going to use them often, it's criminal to bench ride Yao, Pines, Neiman. Let them play USL or loan them out. They need to play. Yep, that's the deal. We've got all these young players that we're hoping to make an impact at later. If you notice, none of them made the under 23 under MLS. Because they're not playing, and they're just subs and unused subs most of the time. So they've got to be playing somewhere to be able to actually establish themselves as a valuable player.
Yeah, and that was very. I'm pretty sure this is one of the first times. And again, some guys aged out of it. Pauliola aged out of it. We don't have Lucho. I'm pretty sure aged out of it pretty quickly. But we don't. And Chris Durkin, I think, was on it as well. And I think he's over in Europe. So there's some extenuating factors. But this was kind of the first season where there wasn't really a DC player represented on that list, and that was kind of sad for me. I'm like, wow, we got a lot of work to do. I think we need a hit. We need to hit either on Griffin Yao, Moses Neiman. We got to get a hit because it's been a lot of strikeouts lately for the youth development, and it's starting to become. We had this great, we got lucky with Andy Nahar and Bill Hamid. There hasn't been anything since. A couple serviceable starters, but I think we need a big hit, and I hope if Chris Durkin goes off to Belgium and does well, and then off to Europe and goes well, but his career has kind of stagnated a little bit, and it's starting to go kind of a similar path. So there needs to be a hit soon, and I'm hopeful that the USL will show that and show that improvement. So
some DMs that we've got. Arthur Lampros says, first of all, he gave us some compliments. I won't read those, but just assume they're much the opposite of what you would read on Big Soccer about us. Wouldn't it be great fun if Derby County comes to DC as one of the friendlies next year? Imagine Rooney playing for DC in the first half and Derby in the second half. I predict a great turnout. Just a late night thought. That would be highly hilarious to me if he does a split time friendly with a team that he played for a year. That would be amazing. I hope it does happen. It would be better to me than some of the options they got for friendlies this past year. And he also said, can you help clear something up in your next show, which would be this one? The XFL and Audi Field are in February and March, which now so are DC United, both February and March. Well, DC United will be playing with grid lines for opening day and until the field is redone, ? Not a good look if so, and play will suffer. I don't know if play will suffer, but the TV experience will suffer.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to put a new, as it was sort of talked about last year, it will be replaced after the XFL season. So that way, for most of the season, they will have a brand new field paid for by the Washington, whatever their names are. What is their names? Do you remember?
DC
Guardians?
Defenders. Is that what that?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Whatever. Those folks. So that's good. I think we just sort of writing off the first month of the season from a field perspective. It's going to be pretty chewed up, but all that money, guys, I'm sure that it will be utilized in some beneficial way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing is the important thing to remember about it is they are giving a lot of time between the games. I think there's the first Washington game, and then there's two, and then they have 2 weeks to get the field ready. I don't think there'll be lines for that game, and then I think they're playing again on March 7th, and then I think they're probably going to go on a road trip for the rest of the XFL season, and then the field's going to be replaced. Maybe they play one game here or there. Depending on the schedule, there might be one game with football lines. It's not ideal. It's certainly not ideal. I wish DC could make enough money where they could say no to something like this. but this is why they bought the stadium. They have a deal with the government to do the games, so we got to deal with it. And who knows how long the XFL is going to be around? Who knows? It might. It
Well,
might. It might. What's that?
I said, well, if we want to place bets, not very long. I think. All right, here we go. The official RFK Refugees betting line on the duration of the XFL. The over/under I'm placing is 2.5 seasons.
I'll go a full 3 seasons.
You're going the over on. You're going the
Yeah,
over.
I'm going
on
the
that.
over.
Okay.
Just because
So-
I think it's backed by a I can't remember the guy who owns the WWE, but he owns
Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon, yeah, he has a lot of money and he's willing to spend it and to support that league. And the AAF showed that people still will watch football even in the spring. So, and I think he will incur the losses. I think he wants to make up for. He is still, if you watch the This Was the XFL show, he is still very angry and still thinks that he can. He blames what he blames. Well, the reason the XFL failed is nothing to do with him. So I think he is going to sink his money in there. I think he's going to tone down all the stuff that got the networks like, no, we don't want anything to do with
Cool
this
stuff.
anymore.
The cool stuff you're saying.
Like
He hate me, the running the ball thing.
The cool stuff may the cool stuff might still be there. Still might be some cool stuff there, but I think there was a lot of other stuff that the networks were like, no, we're done with this. That I think he's going to tone down. I think he will get 3 seasons out of it, and I think we'll have to deal with it.
So, in the light of this being the off season, our Twitter homework for you. This is a trivia question for our Twitter listeners who have gotten to the show. What is it? We're like an hour in at this point. What cabinet member is Vince McMahon married to, and what is their agency that they run? As the trivia question, very DC, very nerd wonky. If you get that, you will win a Quincy Amarikwa signed sticker. This is a collector's item. He will probably not be signing another RFK refugee sticker. If more than one person answers, which I'm hoping, because I feel like there's a lot of dorks that listen to us, we will use a number randomizer and find out which one of you gets this prize, and I will mail it to you. So that's a RFK Refugees promise. I'm not trying to get rid of this Quincy Amarikwa sticker. It's a valuable prize for XFL question on our MLS podcast.
Yes, there you go.
That's a sign that we may be rounding home on this episode.
Yes,
we may be rounding
we're
third,
done.
heading to home on this episode.
Thank you. Do we get any new Patreon subscribers?
We did stall for 5 seconds. So
okay.
I can.
I will. All I will say is check out our show, twitter.com/RFKRefugees, facebook.com/RFK Refugees podcast. I am going to say we will keep the phone number live through the beginning of the regular season, but please do pick up that phone and call us. We want to hear your voices. This show is for you all. This show is for you guys, and we want to hear your voices. John, did that give you enough time to find?
You did.
Yes.
So we have one new Patreon since we talked about it. Mark T. Buckley, who I believe is also a Twitter follower. A lot of our wonderful Patreons are downsizing in the off season and lowering their pledges, which to be honest, I do not blame you. If there was ever a time in the year you're gonna go from what your normal one was down to $1, it should and would be now. But when we get kicking back up in 2 months from now, we hope to be providing you much more frequent and relevant content that makes you say, I want to give these guys more money. I remember when I used to give them 10 times as much money, and I want to do that. So anyway, in the off season, if you decide to become a Patreon, I love you. It's kind of wacky because this is not our normal cadence, and we don't have as much to talk about as we usually would. But we stay active. We talk about XFL. We give you content. We keep it coming.
We give you content. We are soldiers through this off season, and we'll probably keep doing. I like the 2 a week shows.
2 a month, you mean? Not 2 a week. Definitely not that. That would be bad. We are at 47 reviews on iTunes. Get us to 50. I feel like that. Wow. By the way, this will be not as interesting on the podcast thing. Somebody has already answered the trivia question right now. Just got it on our Twitter. So good job. I won't say if it was right or not, but anyway, 47 ratings on iTunes. get us to 50. I think that'd be a good off-season activity. Leave a review if you want. You can make it be full of show inside jokes. You can make fun of the fact that I've only been a fan since '07, and you can challenge Ted to a trivia contest on Big
Yes.
Soccer. Any of these things you can do, just make it interesting and get us to 50.
Yes, yes. I think we're gonna wrap up the show. I think someone was trying to get in, but I think we'll.
On the phone?
Yeah, we got. I think we got Greg on the phone. All right. Let's. Yeah, I think we're just gonna. We're going to. Greg wants to answer the trivia question. I think
He got it. He also answered in the YouTube.
in the YouTube. He
This
chatted
is
right.
great.
We want to give some other people a chance maybe to answer the question. I think is what we're gonna go with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think this is great. We've gotten a lot of a lot of quick, positive, instant feedback on this trivia question. Maybe this is a thing I'm going to do from now on. It's great.
Yeah. We should do it like maybe at the beginning of the show. That's maybe what.
Yeah,
we'll
and
do.
maybe more about soccer instead of about
Yeah.
XFL.
So, Greg, we appreciate you calling in and wanting to give your answer. We're gonna let some other people try to answer the question as well. So to try to win the sticker. So we gotten some already submitted some responses. So we'll probably do the draw, like John talked about. So
Yep. End of tomorrow.
End of tomorrow. Yep. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. You guys, even if you're listening to the show, you guys are still awesome. But please call in, contribute, do what you can, help us out. The show's for you guys. So, and we will catch you all next week. Vamos.
Vamos.
She's happy on her own. And she picks up all the pieces. She's going home. Baby, I'm home, I'm home, I'm home. Yeah, she's going home.
Oh my God, he has a fucking YouTube channel.